Ah, said Monte Cristo. You promised me never to mention that circumstance. It was not I who made that promise, cried Morcerf. It must have been someone else whom you have rescued in the same manner, and whom you have forgotten. Pray, speak of it. For I shall not only, I trust, relate the little I do know, but also a great deal I do not know. It seems to me, returned the Count, smiling, that you played a sufficiently important part to know as well as myself what happened. Well, you promise me, if I tell all I know, to relate in your turn all that I do not know. That is but fair, replied Monte Cristo. Well, said Morcerf, for 3 days I believed myself the object of the attentions of a mask, whom I took for a descendant of Tullia or Poppaea, while I was simply the object of the attentions of a contadina, and I say contadina to avoid saying peasant girl. What I know is that, like a fool, a greater fool than he of whom I just spoke now, I mistook for this peasant girl a young bandit of 15 or 16, with a beardless chin and a slim waist, and who, just as I was about to imprint a chaste salute on his lips, placed a pistol to my head, and, aided 7 or 8 others, led, or rather dragged me, to the Catacombs of Saint Sebastian, where I found a highly educated brigand chief perusing Caesar's commentaries, and who deigned to leave off reading to inform me that unless the next morning before 6 o'clock 4,000 piastres were paid into his account at his banker's, at 6:15 I should have ceased to exist. The letter is still to be seen, for it is in Franz d'Epinay's possession, signed by me, and with a postscript of Monsieur Luigi Vampa. This is all I know, but I know not, Count, how you contrive to inspire so much respect in the bandits of Rome, who ordinarily have so little respect for anything. I assure you, Franz and I were lost in admiration. Okay, well, Albert surprising me by sharing with his buddies here that he was bamboozled by a 15-year-old bandit boy posing as a woman. Maybe this is just because I've been so steeped in Guy Ritchie films for Movie Memory Machine that I just expect the sort of toxic masculinity to prevent him from acknowledging that he was taken in by a member of the same sex as himself. But I'm glad he's in good humor about it. And trying to read Dante here, which we are now calling Monte Cristo, which is strange. Edmond Dante, Sinbad the Sailor, Monte Cristo. Geez, I mean, actually, I'm just thinking out loud right now. I'm wondering if Dumas is intentionally employing that kind of fragmented identity, even with us readers, in order to draft some of his mythology and unknowingness. I mean, it's different than just calling someone by their first name or their last name, like we're calling Albert Morcerf a lot now. But anyway, trying to read Dante here makes me wonder if this is all part of his plan. Where's the line here? As Albert is trying to get Dante to tell his story, yeah, Dante says, "It seems to me," returned the Count, smiling, "that you played a sufficiently important part to know as well as myself what happened." So I don't know that this is part of the plan. I know we've already talked about whether or not Dante expected other men to be at this breakfast. I don't know how you could possibly calculate all of this. As I said, also recently, I've been reading a lot of Sherlock Holmes, and there's a level of suspension of disbelief you can, employ to believe that a person can foresee or even manipulate, in Dante's case, a number of circumstances in order to either unravel or, in Dante's case, construct some sort of scenario for some sort of means or to some sort of end. But at some point that suspension of disbelief can break. But Dumas, I think, in keeping Dante shrouded from us, finds a way of maintaining how far that suspension of disbelief can bend, because we don't really know one way or the other. But I can't help but ask as well whether or not Dante is getting a little, I don't know that I would call it sadistic pleasure, but some sort of like self-indulgent pleasure out of hearing someone else recount his story back to him. Early on, when Dante acquired this wealth, I'd thrown out a lot of like ideas of him playing God and the corrupting influence on his soul and et cetera, et cetera. I mean, this doesn't feel quite as nefarious as that, but I do wonder if there's a sort of narcissism starting to creep up in Dante where he's like, yes, let me hear my own actions told in story. I've also just read Lord of the Rings for the first time. God, can I drop more names of things that I've been engaging with? But it occurs to me like there's a lot of talk in those books about, songs that are sung amongst men or the people of Middle Earth, and how the actions of Frodo and, Sam and all the hobbits will all be part of songs, and their legacy will go on forever and ever, immortalized in these tales. And I'm wondering if Dante doesn't have a similar sort of desire to see his name and legacy be carried on through this mythology he's creating. Like, it's not enough just to create it, but that he's getting off on seeing it, his name kind of bandied about a bit. Maybe it's not so much a legacy thing, so much as like, if I'm Dante here and I see Albert recounting this story with this much reverence to these men, then that might be indication that my myth has reached Fernand. Part of striking fear in Fernand. This man, with this huge reputation, which obviously Fernand wouldn't know that it's Dante, but a formidable reputation reaches you before the man does. And when the man does, I mean, Dante's physically changed so much, so many years have gone by. I doubt that Fernand will even recognize him. So there's going to be a reveal, I would assume, if they ever even meet, because I don't know what's going to happen. But I would imagine that would strike even greater fear into Fernand. Maybe that's part of what Dante's plan is, and I'm not trying to speculate here, but like in this moment when he's relishing hearing his own tale, it is confirmation that all of his work in terms of reputation and mythology is coming to fruition. He's seeing the fruits of his labors, so to speak. But it sounds like Dante will probably have more to add to this tomorrow, so let us just continue with chapter 40 here and then. And maybe they'll get some breakfast finally. Maybe it'll just be a fruit bowl or a side of fruit, like some berries and some citrus, like a pineapple or like a orange, maybe. Some grapes. Yeah, I don't like grapes personally. It's not my thing. I had way too many grapes as a child, and the thought of a green grape now kind of churns my stomach. Not gonna lie, the texture, the popping of it. Ugh, no, thank you. I love fruit. I love fruit so much, but grapes and bananas, no, thank you. I'll pass on those. I force myself to eat bananas because they're healthy and they're good for you and they're an easy snack, but every single step of the process of a banana grosses me out. The floppy, moist peel that drapes over your hand. Ugh. And if you take it out of the peel entirely, and then you got the sticky, mealy surface of the banana to touch, and you put it in your mouth, and the texture is mushy and blah. I don't like it. I don't like bananas. I don't like bananas. I like banana flavored things, but you know what? As an adult, as I'm aging, I'm really starting to love lemon flavored things. It's not historically been true. As a young lad, pineapple was my favorite. Then, for a long, long time, strawberries. I eat an apple every single day, not to do anything with doctors, but just because it's a nice, simple solution in the morning. But lately, I tell you, lemon has been the thing. I've been adding lemon zest to some pastas. Ooh, it's so good. Been having some lemon flavored pastries. I'm not sponsored by them, but shout out to Lazy Jane's here in Madison, Wisconsin. They have a lemon scone that is just out of this world. How can you imagine something so simple could be a masterpiece of pastry? But I can't get them out of my head. And if they weren't so messy, I would be eating grapefruit a lot more. If anyone has any suggestions on how to better eat a grapefruit rather than just cutting it in half and then scooping it out with a spoon, let me know. I think maybe I want to get back into grapefruits. Okay, I made myself hungry for some fruit. I'm going to go get some. Join me here tomorrow with a little bit more of Chapter 40. Until then, okay, goodbye. The Countdown of Monte Cristo is part of the Gruntwork Podcast Network. This show is produced, edited, and hosted by Landon Solano. The original text of The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. Theme song by Magic Solo. If you want to support the show and others like it, visit patreon.com/gruntworkpod. Thank you for listening. See you tomorrow.